Hello, I'm Lori McDonald, Vice President for Student Affairs, and I have with me today Jess Turuc, who is the Director of our Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. Jess, could you tell us a little bit about your office and the fraternity and sorority community at the University of Utah?
Yes, thanks, Lori. Um, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you out there in Utah land watching. So my office oversees and is responsible for the oversight and the development of our fraternity and sorority community. So for those of you that don't know, our fraternity and sorority community consists of 18 organizations, 11 men's groups, 7 women's groups, and it's about 6% of campus, so about 1,500 students any given semester. And what myself and my staff do is that we provide leadership programming, membership development, and risk reduction programming and development for this community that's a little over 100 years old on our campus. So we do a number of things, but that's a pretty concise version of it.
Well, we've had to make a lot of adjustments to how we do that quote unquote regular business. And I know, our fraternity and sorority life community is, as you mentioned, it's a pretty large group of students, and they have a lot of student leaders for their chapters and for the councils. And what are some of the things that you're seeing, and how are you seeing your students connecting with each other, and how are you connecting with your students through these virtual means and trying to connect when we can't necessarily do so in large groups?
Yes, it's been an adventurous roller coaster. We've had some groups who have really leaned in and they're like, oh, this is neat. We can do all of these other things. And some groups that have been pretty reluctant of like, is this really what we have to do? Is this our only option to connect with each other virtually? So we spent the first couple of weeks of the semester really preparing students for what does this look like to engage in your recruitment efforts. Typically, these are at their chapter facilities that are just across the street from campus. They're in classroom settings, they're in other places. So we had to help students kind of reimagine what does that look like in a virtual setting. And our groups had a lot of success through Zoom recruitment is what it has been labeled as. And so that kind of eased folks into, okay, we can use Zoom for more than just recruitment and chapter operations and meetings and doing different things. And we're seeing some really creative things, how they're connecting with each other virtually. So a lot of TikTok challenges, which like, I don't understand, but like they have fun. So
Right.
I'm happy for that. A lot of photo challenges, almost in a scavenger hunt-esque or remember when type way. Viewing parties with sports and shows and different things. Some interesting pieces they've been using Zoom for are like crafting classes, yoga sessions, baking, cooking. So just different ways to engage with each other that I was like, oh, how interesting. How great for you all. Trivia, Madden tournaments, some different ways just to really connect. I've been really pleased. I don't want to say surprised because we have a really good community here, but really pleased with how our students are thinking about how do we still do some of this brotherhood and sisterhood and leadership development, but just differently.
Yeah.
So they're being really mindful, really thoughtful of how do they do some of those pieces. So that's really cool. We've also heard that our chapters, so all of our chapters are connected to a national organization. So there are chapters throughout the country. And so Zoom has allowed them to connect with other groups that they may have not met before, unless they were at a convention or another leadership conference. So that's a really cool piece of that they're building these connections of brotherhood and sisterhood across the country and not just here at Utah. For myself and my staff, we spend a lot of time on Zoom connecting with students, but the connections seem to be a little different, a little more personal, heartfelt, which is cool. It's a cool way to connect and to meet, these great humans that we have where they're at, but just in a different way than just in my office. So
Yeah.
it's been neat. It's been neat.
We have come together and we've been through a lot. It's it's very nice to see how supportive we can be as individuals and a community.
Yes, yes. We sure need support. We need
Well,
support these days like we need a strong Wi-Fi connection, right? Like
that's true. That's
we
true.
don't.
Well, with all of that, do you have any advice that you would give to staff, to students, to others, just based on what you've learned through all of this?
Yes. I could give you a whole page of probably advice, but I recently came across this quote from a Canadian rapper, not Drake, um, but a Canadian rapper who said in one of his lyrics, I can't be everything to everyone, so let me be anything to anyone. And I think as student affairs practitioners and as we're student leaders and we're going through this experience, we care so deeply about folks that we want to make sure that they are taken care of, and we want to do what we can and do everything that we can to do that. But we've got to remember we're human, right? And so maybe we can't do everything. Maybe we can do just something to make someone's life a little bit better, easier, make them feel seen, heard. And so I've been leaning on that a good bit and just trying to show up and lead with grace um, and some authenticity so that folks can see like this isn't easy for everybody,
Right.
but we're all in this together. So that's
I
my
love that.
advice.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. Be well, and we really appreciate all that you do to support our students and the community. And it'll be really interesting to see how this creativity and innovation plays out, even as we can get back to being more in person.
Yes, yes, and right back at you.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, bye now.